Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Udavara Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadutam Pradinasahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapcha Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhana Sudare Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpataruyasya Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. So reading from Srimad Gita Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita as it is. Translation and commentary Srila Prabhupada. Jai. Text number 52, chapter 11, Universal Form. So today's topic is the form of Krishna. Please repeat. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Sudurdasham Idam Rupam Drishtavan Asi Yan Mama Deva Api Asya Rupasya Nityam Darshana Angshana Shri Bhagavan Vacha Sudurdasham Idam Rupam Drishtavan Asyan Mama Deva Apiyasya Rupasya Nityam Darshana Kangshana Shri Bhagavan Vacha Sudurdasham Idam Rupam Drishtavan Asyan Mama Deva Piyasya Rupasya Nityam Darshana Kangshana Shri Bhagavan Vacha Sudurdasham Idam Rupam Drishtavan Asyan Mama Devi Api Asya Rupasya Nityam Darshana Kangshana. Okay.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha Sudurdasham Idam Rupam Drishtavan Asyan Mama Deva Apiyasya Rupasya Nityam Darshana Kangshana
Krishna.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha Sudurdasham Rupam Drishtavan Asyan Mama Deva Apiyasya Rupasya Nityam Darshana Kangshana
Sri Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Sudurdasham Idam Rupam
Sudurdasham Idam Rupam
Vrindavan asiyan mama
Vrindavan asiyan mama
Deva priyasya rupasya Nityam darshana kankshinaha
Nityam darshana kankshinaha. Esteemed Vaishnavis,
Sri Bhagavan Vacha
Sri Bhagavan Vacha
Sududarshamidam Rupam
Sududarshamidam Rupam Vrindavanasiyam Mama
Devapyasya Rupasya
Devapyasya Rupasya
Nityam Darshana Kamshana
Nityam Darshana Kamshana.
Sri Bhagavan Vacha
Sri Bhagavan Vacha
Sududarshamidam Rupam
Sududarshamidam Rupam
Devapyasya Mama
Vrindavanasiyam Mama
Devapyasya Rupasya
Devapyasya Rupasya
Nityam Darshana Kamshana
Nityam Darshana Kamshana. So, please repeat. Sri Bhagavan Vacha.
Sri Bhagavan Vacha.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said.
Sudur Darshan.
Sudur Darshan.
Very difficult to see.
Very difficult to see.
Idam.
Idam.
This.
This.
Rupam.
Rupam.
Form.
Form.
Drishtavan Asi.
Drishtavan Asi.
As you have seen.
As you have seen.
Yet.
Yet.
Which.
Mama.
Of mine.
Of mine.
Deva. The demigods.
The demigods.
Api.
Api.
Asya.
Asya.
Sorry. Api also.
Also.
Asya.
Asya.
This. Rupasya.
Rupasya.
Form.
Form.
Nityam.
Nityam.
Eternally. Darshana Kankshinaha.
Darshana Kamshinaha.
Aspiring to see.
Aspiring to see.
Translation Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjuna, this form of mine you are now seeing is very difficult to behold. Even the demigods are ever seeking the opportunity to see this form, which is so dear. Please repeat. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said,
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said,
This form of mine that you are now seeing is very difficult to behold.
It's very difficult to behold.
Even the demigods are ever seeking the opportunity to see this form of mine. To see this form which is so dear. Purport Srila Prabhupada. In the 48th verse of this chapter, Lord Krishna concluded revealing his universal form and informed Arjuna that this form is not possible to be seen by so many pious activities, sacrifices, etc. Now here the word Sudur Darshan is used, indicating that Krishna's two-handed form is still more confidential. One may be able to see the universal form of Krishna by adding a little tinge of devotional service to various activities like penances, Vedic study, and philosophical speculation. It may be possible, but without a tinge of bhakti one cannot see. That has already been explained. Still, beyond that universal form, the form of Krishna with two hands is still more difficult to see, even for demigods like Brahma and Lord Shiva. They desire to see him, and we have evidence in the Srimad Bhagavatam that when he was supposed to be in the womb of his mother, Devaki, all the demigods from heaven came to see the marvel of Krishna, and they offered nice prayers to the Lord, although he was not at that time visible to them. They waited to see him. A foolish person may deride him, thinking him an ordinary person, and may offer respect not to him, but to the impersonal something within him. But these are all nonsensical postures. Krishna in his two-armed form is actually desired to be seen by the demigods like Brahma and Shiva. In Bhagavad Gita 9:11 it is also confirmed, Avajana Dimam Mudha Manushyam Tanum Asya. He is not visible to the foolish persons who deride him. Krishna's body, as confirmed by Brahma Samhita and confirmed by Lord Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita, is completely spiritual and full of bliss and eternality. His body is never like a material body. But for some who make a study of Krishna by reading Bhagavad Gita or similar Vedic scriptures, Krishna is a problem. For one, using a material process, Krishna is considered to be a great historical personality and a very learned philosopher. But he is an ordinary man. And even though he was so powerful, he had to accept a material body. Ultimately, they think that the absolute truth is impersonal. Therefore, they think that from his impersonal feature, he assumed a personal feature attached to material nature. This is a materialistic calculation of the Supreme Lord. Another calculation is speculative. Those who are in search of knowledge also speculate on Krishna and consider him to be less important than the universal form of the Lord, of the Supreme. Thus some think that the universal form of Krishna, which was manifested to Arjuna, is more important than his personal form. According to them, the personal form of the Supreme is something imaginary. They believe that in the ultimate issue, the absolute truth is not a person. But the absolute process is described in Bhagavad Gita. But the transcendental process is described in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4. To hear about Krishna from authorities. That is the actual Vedic process. And those who are actually in the Vedic line hear about Krishna from authority, and by repeated hearing about him, Krishna becomes dear. As we have several times discussed, Krishna is covered by his Yogamaya potency. He is not to be seen or revealed to anyone and everyone. Only by one to whom he reveals himself can he be seen. This is confirmed in the Vedic literature. For one who is a surrendered soul, the absolute truth can actually be understood. The transcendentalist, by continuous Krishna consciousness and by devotional service to Krishna, can have his spiritual eyes opened and can see Krishna by revelation. Such a revelation is not possible even for the demigods. Therefore, it is difficult even for the demigods to understand Krishna, and the advanced demigods are always in hope of seeing Krishna in his two-handed form. The conclusion is that although the universal form of Krishna is very, very difficult and not possible for anyone and everyone, it is still more difficult to understand his personal form as Shyam Sundar. Mukam karoti vachalam pambam raite yakripa tamam vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Sudurdarsham idam rupam dristavam api asi yanmama deva api asya rupasya nitsham darshana amshana. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "My dear Arjuna, this form of mine you are now seeing is very difficult to behold. Even the demigods are ever seeking the opportunity to see this form, which is so dear." Yes. So, this is the apex, in one sense, of the Bhagavad Gita, the display of the universal form. Just like we've already discussed 3-4 classes ago, the apex of the Bhagavatam is the Ras Leela. in the 10th canto. So of course, there's a big difference. In the Ras Leela, Krishna is standing in the middle with Radha and Krishna dancing very happily, and he's expanded to dance with every individual soul. So that has figurative meaning also. In the spiritual abode, everyone is dancing in ecstasy with Krishna. Every word is a song, every step is a dance, Srimad Bhagavatam. And everyone can sing in tune. Anyway, even Bhuvaneshwar. He's listening on the radio, so we're complimenting him. So the point is, in the spiritual world, people are dancing in ecstasy in all their different relationships with Krishna. But in the material world, people are dancing with the universal form. And as you've already studied, Mrityu Sarva Haraschaham. Arjuna, at the end of the display, asked Krishna, what is this form? He's very shocked. The Mrityu Sarva Haraschaham, Kalosmiyaham. Time I am, destroyer of all worlds. Kalosmi and Mrityu. Sometimes people, philosophers, so-called philosophers, they say, oh, everything in the material world is relative. That relative means relative to the individual. My opinion, you have your opinion, you have your opinion, it's relative to you. And on the basis of this false construct, they say there's no absolute truth, because everything is relative. But you can easily defeat that argument by saying death, Mrityu, Krishna is absolute, he's the absolute truth. Mrityu, death is absolute. It's not according to your opinion, and it is absolutely sure. As they say, what? As sure as death, yes. That's one thing you can bet on. You can't take a bet in the betting shop, will I die or not? They'll not give you any figures. They'll not give you a quote. Because everyone will die. It's absolute. So there's an absolute in reality that we experience even in this material world, right? And Mrityu Sarva Harash, Mrityu, death, Kalosmi Aham. Kala, Kalosmi, Kala, is also absolute. Time is absolutely necessary. Can you do anything without time? Can I move my hand from here to there without time? We are all absolutely dependent upon time. And we are all absolutely controlled by time. You cannot go back to tomorrow and not eat that breakfast that made you sick or something. You cannot go back to the past and rearrange the future. You may in a novel or a book or something like that. But no, you cannot transcend time. Time will control you. It will force you. Like when you're going on an aeroplane, you book 20 days ahead. Right? So you think, oh, it's okay. But then as the time approaches, you feel compelled. If you don't serve that time on the ticket, you lose your flight. You're not independent. Time is absolute. You can't control it in any way. And for all your activities, you're dependent on time. Absolutely. Can you do anything without time? So, there are two absolutes. So, what is the shelter? In Sanskrit, the word is the ashraya, the shelter, the support. What is the principle? Just like you can say, the ashraya of the laws of the land is the government, the support, the shakti that causes those laws to have potency. So that is a sense of Ashraya in Vedic ontology, philosophy. So Ashraya, what is the Ashraya of absolute? These two absolutes. Well, that must be absolute also. If there is absolute principles, time and death, affecting the living beings in this world, then what is the support? What is the principle? What is the governing principle that maintains that absolute imposition? That must also be absolute, right? Or else how it can impose an absolute principle? Do you understand? Just like, unless you have heat, how you can heat a room, right? So you must have the quality that is being expressed to be able to express it. So therefore, the absolute nature of Kala, time, the material time principle, and the fact that all living entities experience death indicates that there is an absolute beyond the relative. Yes, there is a relative world, relative worlds, opinions, but that means my opinionation, your opinion, your life, your ideas, your love, your affections, your repulsions. They're all relative to you. Okay. But there are also absolute principles. So there is a relative world, relative to the individual, and there is also an absolute. And we are experiencing the evidence of those things. So rather than looking for the absolute in the individual, we should look for the absolute in that principle which imposes the absolute principles that are evident to our experience. And that means time and death. We should inquire with confidence, yes, there is an absolute. And of course, so that's the start of the Vedanta Sutra, of which the Bhagavad Gita is an expression. So what does it say? Atato Brahmajignas. Now you have human body, now that you've transcended karma and jnana also. This is also a further implication of now. Brahmajignas. Because the karmis, they're not really interested in the nature of the Supreme. Brahma Jignas. That which is supreme, inquire. So there's also an implication, often you will hear, oh, now that you're a human being, inquire into the Supreme. But also, acharyas, in commenting on that verse, they also say that now you've transcended the attachment to karma and jnana, now inquire into the absolute. Because if you're attached to karma, that means experiencing material good reactions, doing your material duty. If you're attached to that, doing your material duty and getting some good material fruit, then you will put aside inquiry into Brahman. Right? Because your inquiry is how I can get a good future out of performing my karma. Karma according to guna, guna karma vivaksha. So I have material duties according to my material station, so I should perform them nicely, and then from the Vedas I will get a good reaction. I'll go to heavenly planets, or so on and so forth. So then that means your concern is not Brahmajignas, to understand that which is supreme. And also, if you're attached to jnana, speculative inquiry or empirical inquiry with a monistic conception about the absolute truth, then also you're not inquiring into the Supreme. You're also concerned with acquiring knowledge for your own embellishment. Whereas bhakti, Brahmajignas, really means how to realize Brahman, that which is supreme, through bhakti. Because Janmadi Ashiyatam, that is second verse of Brahma Vedanta. Okay, what is that which is supreme? Brahma. So this is very nice, because Veda Vyas, in that Atato Brahma Jignas, he's given entrance into the Veda and the Vedanta Sutra for everyone. He doesn't say into the Supreme Personality. He doesn't say into the Supreme Energy. Or he doesn't say into the Supreme Scientific Explanation. So that which is supreme. That is non-religious in the sense of organized religion. I mean, that which is the supreme. And what is that supreme? Jamadi Ashyata. That from whom or which everything has emanated. That is supreme. That means everything that is in existence, gross and subtle, material and spiritual, it must be originated or coming from that which is supreme. If there is a supreme and there's a source for something else, then how can it be supreme? If there's an independent source for another element of creation. That's pantheism, isn't it? You know, this idea, that idea. There's different gods and they're all fighting like the GBC or something. But, or discussing fruitfully. But they're all, having a meeting about what to do. And then Thor gets his hammer and bashes it on the table. We're going to do this. So, that which is supreme is the origin of everything. Very satisfactory, very scientific, right? You cannot say, oh, that's a religious idea. That's what the material scientists say. The absolute is a big bang. Of course, I think they're changing their opinion. They may have heard my classes. Oh, probably. Anyway. After 100 years, they'll figure out that you can't get anything from nothing. That their conception of nothing is something, therefore it's not nothing. But anyway, we've discussed this many times, right? You don't want to go down that road, right? If you say everything came from nothing, well, nothing doesn't exist in the first place. So how it can be the source of everything if it doesn't exist in the first place? You have turned your nothing into something. Nothingness. Wait a minute, nothingness? That's not something. That's something. Just like they say, oh, between the moon and the earth there's nothing. What do you mean there's nothing between the moon and the earth? There's a lot of space between there. So there's something. It's not nothing between the earth and the moon. There's something between the earth and the moon. At the very least you have to acknowledge there's distance between the sun and the moon. Of course, we understand there's ether between the sun and the moon and the earth planet. So, we already explained this. The duality is not non-existence and existence, because non-existence, by definition, doesn't exist. Therefore, there is only existence. There is no such thing, by definition of thingness. There is no such thing as nothing. Right? You can't hold nothing in your hand, can you? Except maybe when you want to give a donation to somebody. But anyway, but that's another thing. So, there is no such thing as nothing. There is only existence. So, that which exists has a source. If you say there has no source, then you have to say, well, there's no source. Okay, but there is existence. What's the source of it? So you can go in a circle with that one. But the point is, the Vedic literature is not religious in that ritualized, dogmatic, agenda-based, man-made conception. Vedavyas is the ultimate scientist. And that is why actually the modern scientists rejected religion, because it's agenda-based and man-made. But in the Vedas, empirical inquiry and descending knowledge, they are integrated as sources of knowledge. So, Atato Brahmadignas, what is the Supreme? And then the nature of the Supreme is described in the next sloka. Anandamoy Vyasat. That the Absolute Truth is full of bliss. So he exists and he is full of bliss. Now if you say bliss, that means there's a consciousness. How you can experience bliss without consciousness? We're not just existing like this table is existing, but we're experiencing existence. That is consciousness, it is self-awareness. So we're not only aware, but we're aware of ourselves. And we're aware of our state of consciousness. So when you say, Anandamoy Vyasat, you are implying the Absolute Truth, not only existing, but he's also conscious. So that's Vedavyas. So, here, the Absolute Truth is manifesting before Arjuna in such a way to be... Can you close the doors, please? Oh no, leave them open, there's people listening. No, it's okay, it's okay. So here, the problem is... Yes, oh, and on this form. So here the form of the Absolute Truth is being manifest. But it is the form of the living entities relating to Krishna in the material sphere. So it is not a very good sight. So Arjuna, divine eyes or not, is very terrified. So then he says, please let me see that human-like form. So first of all, Krishna manifests the four-arm form, and then he descends to manifest the human form. Now, as Prabhupada puts it point here, people think that, oh, he's descended into human form, right? And therefore many people will say that the Vishnu form is higher. And Baladev, in his commentary on this section, he says that the universal form is related to Mahavishnu. So many people will say that Vishnu is higher than Shamsundar Krishna, because, and they will argue in all sorts of odd ways. They'll say, oh, to see the universal form, Krishna had to give Arjuna divine eyes. Divyam Chakshus. No problem. So, but Krishna didn't give divine eyes for Arjuna to see Shamsundar form. Right? And the demigods, they want to see the Vishnu form, but they can see the Shamsundar form. That is false argumentation. Actually, when Krishna appears, manifests in the material sphere, he becomes manifest by his mercy, even to the material eyes and material vision of the conditioned souls. But Arjuna was given the special ability to see all the activities of Vishnu as the Maha Purusha of this world, supreme enjoyer, in one place, so to speak. And if you study attentively, Arjuna was told that anything you want to see, you can see in this universal form. And what that meant was that if you want to see anything from the past, through this universal form, Arjuna, you can see it. If you want to see anything from the future, through this universal form will bestow that aspect that you want to see. If you want to see something from any time or place, according to your desire, Arjuna, you can see it in this form. Now, Arjuna was on the battlefield very worried about fighting and killing. So those particular aspects of the universal form, Mahapurusha, all time and space, he saw. He saw that all the armies being drawn into the universal forms and being chewed and destroyed in blazing mouth and ground by the teeth. So we often say that, the grinding motion of time, the wheel of time. So Arjuna saw that. That was his concern. So he saw the result of the battle which was concerning him. He saw that. So this is also the gift of Krishna upon his devotee, that he makes known the future to his devotee, to remove anxiety. The devotee lives in Vaikuntha. In Vaikuntha there's no anxiety. In the material world, one of our great anxieties is to know the future, is it not? What's going to happen tomorrow? Is the wife going to cook breakfast or leave? Are the kids going to be safe in school? So we're anxious about the future. So you should understand that Krishna, to his devotee, gives intuition about the future to remove all anxiety. And just there's an example of Prabhupada in the park, right, in New York.
Kind of separate.
Right? Yes. The one man sat next to Prabhupada in the park in New York, some park.
New York.
Which park? New York, New York.
It would have been Tompkins Square.
Tompkins Square.
Tompkins, was it Tompkins
Yeah.
Square? And,
Sat on the park bench,
yeah,
Paul Rubens.
Paul Rubens asked him.
He was a subway conductor.
Really, they asked that Prabhupada?
Yeah, I saw it in the book that Ravindra Swarup wrote. His name was Paul Rubens. He sat down next to Prabhupada.
Oh, Paul Rubens
And
was
then he
his name.
said, what is your purpose in coming?
Yeah.
Prabhupada,
And Prabhupada said, I have many temples and many disciples.
yeah. So many temples, so many people, so many books.
Yeah, and
Only time is up.
that and Prabhupada the only time separating. And also Prabhupada had his Brahma Samhita, his Bhrigu Samhita read, he knew that, he had good astrologers. So in this way the anxiety of the future, one of the anxieties Krishna removes through intuition, and he placates his devotee. Do not be fearful, just take shelter of me, Sharanagati, I will preserve everything. So that is also one aspect here. So there's endless aspects to the manifestation of the universal form. But this point that Prabhupada is dealing with in the purport is that we should not think that because the universal form had to be manifest in the text according to Divya Chakshus, a special gift to Arjuna to see that, therefore that is a higher form than the Krishna Shamsundar form. Mistake. Also, the universal form is awe-inspiring, it is Aishwarya Bhav, it's Mahavishnu, it's very powerful, and Arjuna and Krishna is just the charioteer. So we shouldn't think therefore that the universal form is higher than Krishna, the chariot driver. And also Prabhupada says universal form, people sometimes say, just like Prabhupada is mentioning Mayavadi idea, impersonalist idea, that, that the impersonal absolute is higher than the form of Krishna. That is the Mayavadi idea. And then the people that say, oh, well, one idea slips my head there with the Mayavadis. The idea, yes, that the universal form is more magnificent than the Shyam Sundar form. That is also erroneous, because the Shyam Sundar form is the embodiment of the most subtle of Krishna's opulences, and that is beauty, Shri. So also there are different Sampradayik opinions, and they will say that Krishna is the avatar of Mahavishnu. They will say like that, and based on these kind of ideas, that Vishnu, he is manifesting great power and great Shakti. But Krishna is just a charioteer. He's dancing in the Ras Leela. He is bound by Mother Yashoda. So this is Vishnu in his human-like form, in his Manusha Leela. Just like Ram is Manusha Leela, Leela avatar, where he's displaying the perfect human being. So people will say that Krishna actually is a bad form of Ram, because Ramchandra was very noble and he followed his parents nicely and he had one wife. Whereas Krishna is, I don't know what form of human being that is, dancing with other people's wives and wrestling and stealing butter. This is obviously some avatar to show the bad qualities of people in the material world. So the answer to all these arguments is like what Prabhupada said here. Do you remember the beginning of the purport? He said about hearing. Do you remember the one small sentence? What was that sentence? Anyway, Prabhupada said that hearing from authorities, that is the Vedic path. So in the knowledge of the Sampradaya, the teachings, the answer to all these objections is given in a perfectly satisfactory way and can be realized as the absolute truth because it is factual. So realization of Krishna only means to realize reality. So all these ideas, they are because of a limited fund of knowledge. And the special quality of Lord Chaitanya is to teach that Krishna is the highest form. Therefore, and that is what Arjuna says after seeing. He said, right, Asita Devala Vyas, they have said that you are the Param Purusha, you are the supreme form, you are the supreme personality of Godhead. So the great saints and sages in disciplic succession who distribute the Vedic knowledge, they emphasize that the Krishna form, that is the highest. And as Prabhupada finished the purport here, is explaining that Shyam Sundar is even more difficult to see and understand in that sense, because he is apparently imitating human activities. But the fact is, the human activities that are manifest on this planet, they are an imitation of Krishna's Shyam Sundar Leela. And the two-armed form that the human beings are manifesting in this material world, they are a perverted reflection of the transcendental form. So the Acharyas have explained, and we can also understand, not just through reference to the Acharya, but through logic and argument given by the Acharyas, that this Leela is the most secret, the most esoteric, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he is the source of Vishnu. And this Vishnu form is the form of Krishna to deal with the conditioned souls in every situation, time and place of the material creation, which is fluxed into manifestation, appearing and disappearing, according to the breathing of Mahavishnu. And also, in the Shastra, in the Leela, in the Bhagavatam itself, Mahavishnu, he stole the sons of the Brahmana. The Brahmana, he complained to Krishna, my sons have disappeared. So Krishna went to see Mahavishnu. And Mahavishnu explained, I've stolen those sons of the Brahmana so that you would come to see me. So Mahavishnu is requiring Krishna to come and see him. He is endeavoring to see Krishna. He's also having a problem to see Krishna. And he is the expansion of Krishna. And incidentally, he's stealing also like Krishna. He's taking away the sons of the Brahman. Very interesting. So of course, even mundane morality is outside the absolute truth. But that's a whole other discussion. So the form of Krishna, and Prabhupada explained, okay, many people may say, oh, I am God. So Prabhupada, in the earlier purports to this chapter, you will say, okay, if somebody says that, then tell them, okay, manifest the universal form. Krishna manifest to Arjuna. One aspect of that is, so to show who is that, he's saying, I am Param Purush. In the earlier chapters, the opulence of the Absolute, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo Matak Sarvam Pravartate, I am the source of everything. But he's actually practically showing it in the universal form. So the Mayavadis will say like that, oh, I am God, you are God. Oh, you say you are God? Very good. Are you all pervasive? Are you situated everything? Do you know everything? You know the bus schedule in Hong Kong? No. But I am God. So this is also the false proposal. If you are God, then you know everything in perfection. And you should be able to manifest it in perfection, as Krishna did to Arjuna. Manifesting everything in the material world, all qualities, all aspects, all activities, whatever you want to see, Arjuna, you, just by your desire, the universal form will manifest that knowledge, that appearance before you. So of course the Mayavadis, Prabhupada talks about the Mayavadi idea, they have this conception. When they say actually I am God and we're all God, what they mean is that I have united, this is some of them, we can't speak for all of them, I've united my consciousness with the Supreme Consciousness. That is basically their idea. But if you have united your consciousness with the Supreme Consciousness, then you should be having the Supreme Consciousness at your disposal. And if you can't tell me what's going to happen tomorrow, or what happened last week, even to yourself you cannot remember it, then how you can claim to have united your Supreme Consciousness, your individual consciousness, with the Supreme Consciousness? If you say you united your individual consciousness to the Supreme Consciousness, then there should be evidence that Supreme Consciousness, just like if I have united my bank balance to the bank balance of the Rothschilds, I should be able to manifest a good amount of money, should I not? I shouldn't be able to just manifest 500 rupees. I should be able to... I watched a documentary the other day. It said the Rothschilds, their family fortune is 100 trillion. So that's 100 million. So anyway, if I've united my bank balance to the Rothschilds, I've got a credit card with Rothschilds, H.G.Kesidamana Rothschild, then I should be able to manifest some of the opulence of the Rothschilds. But I'm not doing that. So you're saying you've united your consciousness with the Supreme Consciousness, but where's the evidence? So that's my Leela. Well, your Leela is very convincing that you're an ordinary person. Anyway, so these various arguments, they say like that the Brahman, in interaction with the different modes of material nature, creates different devas and the Supreme Lord in these conceptions. But Prabhupada always quoted Shankaracharya, Narayano Paro Vyaktat. Paro, above the material manifestation, Narayan, Vishnu, is above the material. So even Shankaracharya, they do not understand. And of course, Bhaja Govindam Mudamate Nahi Duk Rakshasi Dukrin Karine. You fools and rascals, worship Govinda. Your word jugglery and grammatical knowledge will not save you at the time of death. So actually Shankaracharya is a personalist, but he's trying to gather the impersonalists into the personal fold. And of course it is illogical to say that and of course the Vedic Shastra, Ishopanishad, Hiranmayena Patrenya Satyasya Pihitam Mukam. In the Upanishad, Ishopanishad, O Supreme Lord, please remove your glaring effulgence, the Brahman, golden effulgence, so that I can see your form of bliss. This is in Upanishad. Prabhupada explained the highest of the Upanishads is that Ishopanishad. Once I did some research and in that document I studied, it said that in the Vedas there's 1,600 Upanishads. You know that? Acharyas have explained which are Sattvika Upanishads and which are the primary Upanishads. You can read about that in Dravadharma. But each Upanishad is considered the embodiment of all Upanishad knowledge. So Krishna is pointed to by the Upanishads. That which is Brahman is the discussion in the Upanishads. And the Vedanta Sutra and the Bhagavad Gita is the expression of the Vedanta Sutra in the Mahabharata. These explain the nature of that which is supreme. So the Absolute Truth contains impersonal and personal aspects. But ultimately, because the impersonal Brahman is the effulgence of the Supreme, it is also personal. It is the personal effulgence of the Supreme. So ultimately the distinction has to be melded away, because ultimately everything is an expression of the Absolute Truth. And you can see that. Our philosophy, Achincha Bhed Abhed. What does it mean? Inconceivably different and non-different. That means, one aspect, is that the Creator and the creation are non-different. So how do we understand that? Creator is Satchidananda Vigraha, right? So what do you see in this creation, even in this lower material creation? First point is, you see that there is a creation. So Sat. Sat means existence. So you see Sat is part of your experience. It means it exists. Chit. How is that manifest in the material? There are conscious beings, are there not? You're conscious almost, right? So, yeah, so there's existence and there's consciousness. The counterpoint is Achit. Counterpoint to Sat is not non-existence, but it is temporary change. So then, Satchit Ananda. So you're not only just conscious, there's not only consciousness, but we're conscious of rasa. Huh? Like we don't just, if you're conscious, you must be conscious of something, like we were saying. There's a duality in a sense. I am the knower and I am knowing through consciousness. So consciousness means self-awareness. So what are you aware of? You're aware of rasa. And this rasa creates anand in your consciousness. Rasa means neutrality, servitude, friendship, parental, conjugal, laughter, astonishment, chivalry, compassion, anger, dread, ghastliness. You're aware of these rasa. Rasa Vaisa Krishna. So you are experiencing and they're causing ananda. You're conscious of them. So you see in reality that there is existence, of course. That's the base card. Then there is consciousness. Then there is ananda, sense of happiness, rasa, mellow. And then vigraha means that those rasas are experienced by a person. Huh? So you may be conscious, but not conscious like this. Microphone. This microphone is conscious of my voice, but it's not self-aware of my voice. It's reacting to my voice, but it's not tasting rasa. So to taste rasa, there must be vigraha. There must be form and personality. So vigraha means that, form and personality. So not only is there form in form, but there is variety or form in the sense of sound, within touch. There's a variety of touch. There's a variety of shape associated with the fire element. There's a variety of taste associated with the water element. And there's a variety of experiential touch associated with the earth element. So Satchidananda Vigraha is manifest in the material creation. So the material creation, as we are informed by the Vedic sages, is non-different from the Absolute Truth. Just like we say, the Absolute Truth is manifest in the form of Mrityu, Absolute. He's saying there is an Absolute. He's manifest in the form of time. So there's Absolute. So therefore Krishna, Lord Brahma, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Supreme Boss is Krishna. Satchidananda Vigraha, his nature. Anadi Adi. He's the uncaused cause of all causes, the origin of everything, but he has no origin himself. So this is the definition of the Absolute Truth. And Arjuna is now seeing that. Now, as devotees of Lord Chaitanya, we don't meditate upon the universal form. We meditate upon the dust from the lotus feet of Sri Sri Radha Krishna. We meditate on that form of Krishna, Shyam Sundar, the personal form, which is more hard. Because how is it more hard to understand Shyam Sundar? Well, it is very easy to understand God as Narayan. Lakshmi is there, massaging his lotus feet. Narayan is standing there. There's no talk about a mother and father of Narayan, is there not? I never came across it in the Vedas. He has no origin. There's no mother and father. Krishna has mother Yashoda and Vasudeva Devaki. There's confusion. Shishupal was very confused about that. And so, how is he the cause of all causes? How is the source of everything if he has a mother and father? And if he is acting like a human, why doesn't he act like God? Well, he does actually. There's that pastime where there was one devotee called himself Vasudeva, right? And he had even, it's in Krishna book, right? He attached 2 extra arms on his back, right? Right. Going, here I am. I'm going to speak Bhagavad Gita after the battle. Anyway, so Krishna, when he saw this, he burst into tears of laughter. So that's also it. The Mayavadis, they make themselves fools. in front of the Supreme Lord. You are saying that you have united your consciousness with the Supreme Consciousness. But where's the evidence? There's no evidence. I am you and you are me. I disagree. And if I disagree, then we're not one person. Are we not? Right? If you say I am, you and me are the same person, then I shouldn't be disagreeing with you. And if you agree that I can disagree, then you're agreeing that we're separate persons. And if you disagree that I can disagree, then you're also evidencing that we're separate people. Right? You see the logic? So you may say you and me are the same person, but where's the evidence? And where's the logic in these statements? And if you say the absolute truth has come from something impersonal, how do you deal with all the variety? How do you deal with the universal form? How do you deal with that? It's mrityu, Brahma Satyam, Jagat Mrityu. So their idea is it's false, mrityu. False in the sense of non-existent or unreal. But we don't accept that definition. Just like Shankaracharya, Dukhin Karine, your grammatical jugglery and word jugglery will not save you. Just redefining Vedic terms, saying, oh, it's a false creation, it's non-existent. It's just word jugglery. This was the main point of Madhvacharya. He said, this world is false in the sense that it is temporary, but it is real. It is called, just like if I mistake my case of glass, my spectacle case for a bar of gold, that is illusion, right? But the illusion is a real experience. It may be a temporary, it may be mistaken, but it is an actual experience, right? So if you see a snake, a rope, and you think it's a snake, yes, it is an illusion, but it is a real illusion, it is an actual experience. But their theory is, oh, the snake doesn't exist. Actually, all this illusion doesn't exist. But it's a real experience. I may be looking at a snake and thinking it's a rope, or a rope and thinking it's a snake. But it's an actual experience. Just like you may say, a dream is an illusion. Yes, I dreamt last night that my mother was cooking dinner with lots of sweet rice, saying nice things to me. But you may say it's an illusion, but it was a real experience. But their definition is, their word jugglery is, oh, it's all illusion, this world is all, it doesn't exist. It is called, in Sanskrit, Vaivartavad, illusory transformation. But Prabhupada also counters that by saying, you may say, okay, it's not a bar of gold, but there is a bar of gold somewhere. So therefore, if you say that, okay, you're mistaking the the rope for a snake, and the rope doesn't exist, the snake doesn't exist. But the thing is, why are you thinking it's a snake? Because a snake is a real thing. It may be a temporary animal, but it is an existing thing. You may say this is not a gold bar, but there is a gold bar somewhere. Therefore, if you say, this is the argument Prabhupada said, if you say this world is all illusory, all the variety is illusory, and the real thing is monism, well, okay, it's all illusion, but it's all temporary, but there must be a reality. You're taking it as reality. I'm taking this as a bar of gold. I may be the only man in the world, but there is a bar of gold somewhere. So if we say this world is a creation, the illusory creation, the implication is that somewhere there is a real creation, which we are mistaking this to be. And that is the basic fault of illusion. That we take reality as reality, this illusory reality. This false reality we take as permanent, whereas in actual fact it is temporary. So the base illusion is to take that which is temporary and in flux as permanent. And therefore, I am mine. I am this person. That is my identity. And the things belonging to this person in the mirror, they are mine. No, that is your mistake. You have taken your temporary situation to be eternal. And you have taken your illusory ideas to be reality. But those illusions under which you're laboring, they imply that there is an eternal reality, that there is an eternal identity that belongs to you. Do you see the point? Huh? Or else, where would that conception come from? Of course, this is inductive reasoning. Inductive and deductive reasoning. Inductive means it points in that direction. It may not be absolutely conclusive, but it indicates a certain truth. Deductive is more conclusive reasoning. So this is inductive philosophy. That yes, there is form and personality we're experiencing. Therefore there must be a permanent form. That we're mistaking this form, this every form for that eternal form. So, in the universal form, yes, you can, as Prabhupada says here, perform karma with a little tinge of bhakti, and you may even see the universal form. And actually in the Mahabharata, there is another manifestation of the universal form. When Krishna came from Dwarka to argue with Duryodhana on behalf of the Pandavas, he said, you know, just give them some land, just why, Duryodhana, why are you doing this? Why are you there for your family members? Give them some land to rule over their Kshatriyas. He said, no, I'll not give them enough land in which to stick a pin. That was his answer. They asked for 5 villages. But Duryodhana saw that those 5 villages were positioned around Indraprastha. So they would have encircled actually Indraprastha. You can read Mahabharata. This is commentary on Mahabharata. Anyway, so Duryodhana, he tried to capture Krishna in that assembly. And Krishna partially manifested the universal form. It's there in the Mahabharata. Have you read Mahabharata? Yes. Yeah? No? Yes? He manifested within the assembly hall. Because they approached Krishna. Duryodhana was such a rascal, he thought, he will fight on behalf of the Pandavas, there's a war coming, so we'll capture Krishna now, throw him in the jail. So they tried to capture Krishna, and Krishna manifested the universal form. But still still Duryodhana wouldn't take the advice of Krishna, even though he was arguing on behalf of him. So the demoniac, those that are overly demoniac, they do not like to renounce their demoniac point of view. So the actual Vedic philosophy is Parinamvad. Parinamvad is that this creation, this material creation, is a transformation. The Mayavadi theory is illusory transformation, Vaivartavad. But the Vaishnava, the correct, is Parinamvad. You can read all about this in Jagadharma. Everyone buy Jagadharma. Parinambha means a transformation of energy. So the Chit Shakti transforms into the Achit Shakti. Just like in verse 44 of Brahma Samhita, Srishti Sthiti Pralaya. The Durga in the material world, who's the mistress of the prison house, is the shadow of the Chit potency. The shadow follows the form. So Durga, figuratively speaking, Lord Brahma is saying, she follows the dictate of Swarup Shakti Durga, ultimately Srimati Radharani. But it is the shadow extension. So in this material world, this material energy, it is a temporary manifestation out of the transformation of the Chit Shakti, which is the Pradhan. The Pradhan is the causal ocean. Mahavishnu is lying in the causal ocean and he's exuding the Pradhan. So Mahavishnu is in Yoga Nidra. When you're in yoga sleep, that is mystic slumber. So in his Leela, Krishna as Mahavishnu, he goes into mystic slumber. And just like we sweat, right, when impurities come out of the body when you sleep, therefore you have to take a bath and all that. So, of course, we shouldn't impose that upon Mahavishnu, but Mahavishnu, in his apparently, or Leela, lower state of Yoga Nidra, exudes a transformation of the Chit Shakti known as Pradhan. And that is the Chit Shakti, but with an admixture of Tama. Not the Tama of Tamagun, of ignorance or forgetfulness. So the Pradhan, the causal ocean out of which all the material elements cascade, that is a transformation of the Chit Shakti. And what transforms it? Mahavishnu, but the element is the element of forgetfulness. Just like when you go to sleep, you forget your waking identity, do you not? You enter into forgetfulness. So this is as above, as below. So Mahavishnu, he enters into a state of mystic slumber. Now of course he's always perfectly cognizant, but it's his Leela, his Mukta. So he's entering into this and he's exuding the base substance of matter, the Pradhan, a transformation of the Chit Shakti. And because you can understand, figuratively he's forgetful of himself. So forgetfulness of Vishnu is imposed by the material energy upon the living entity. It has a natural effect of giving separation from the existence of the personal Lord. You understand? Therefore people, and the more people try to enjoy the material energy, the more become forgetfulness of the Supreme Lord. The more you try to enjoy sense enjoyment, the more you become forgetfulness of the spiritual resident of the material body. And that not only that, the material body is naturally attracted to the sense objects. You're naturally attracted to look at a beautiful sunset, right? You look away from disharmonious things. You're naturally attracted to smell beautiful flowers. You don't want to look at the rubbish dump and smell it. You might, I don't know. Anyway, so, of course you're a great person. So the material energy naturally makes us forgetful and naturally enhances that forgetfulness. Therefore, renunciation, in the sense of withdrawing the senses from the material energy as the answer to our suffering conditioning, is actually the cause of our suffering, and fixing the consciousness on the absolute form of Krishna is the solution to all this. Just like in this, now the winter's finished, but the electric fire is useless unless it's connected to the point, right? Then it gives heat. So the soul is in a useless condition unless it's connected to Krishna. And as Prabhu says, you have to have a tinge of bhakti. By just a tinge of bhakti, you can connect your consciousness to Supreme Reality. So devotion is the plugging system. You plug yourself into the Absolute Truth through bhakti. And the basis of bhakti is faith. And how do you develop faith? Sadhu Sangha, hearing from the sadhu. If you hear the sadhu, his conviction, his realization will resonate in your consciousness, and your soul will wake up to absolute reality. But of course you should learn how to fix in a proactive way your consciousness on the absolute reality. The beginning of that is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And the end of that is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And everything in between, there's Nam, Rupa, the form, right? So actually, when you begin chanting, you think of, material things come into the mind. But after you've been chanting a while, you chant, and then the Rupa, Nam. Just like if I say mother, then everyone thinks of mother, right? But then they think of the form of the mother. So you fix the mind on Nam, and then Rup will come into the consciousness. And then, when you think of your mother, you think of the qualities of your mother, right? She was very motherly, perhaps. And she was a good cook. She was kind and compassionate. So you think of the quality. So Nam, Rupa, Guna. And then her activities, her Leela, right? So Krishna is realized. Nam, Rupa, now we're discussing Rupasya, Rupa, the form. Nam, Rupa, the qualities, and the Leela. And then when you think of the Leela, you think of the Sangha that expands into all the associates of Krishna. So in this way, we want to take the senses that are attracted out there and fix them through the consciousness on the Supreme Absolute Truth. And so everyone should practice that. When we're chanting, we should evoke in the form of Krishna, the qualities of Krishna. 64 are given in the Nectar of Devotion, of course they're unlimited, and the Leela of Krishna. So, yes, we have our material duties, this material body. We can do them in a regulated manner. But our concern, Brahma Jignas means that, to always inquire into the name, the form, the qualities, the Leela, the Sangha of the Supreme Lord. That should be our internal meditation. So in the period of sadhana, you have to proactively, you have to train yourself, direct your consciousness in that way, through regulated study and hearing. And then eventually your consciousness will be purified and attracted. Knowledge of Krishna turns to attraction, attraction turns to prema. Very simple. So this universal form, yes, don't just read the Bhagavad Gita like it's a novel, but sit down and try to, within your consciousness, you can imagine what the universal form looked like. That's part of bhajan. Oh, Arjuna is there. See the universe, this is Krishna and Arjuna. See it, the dramatic aspect. Of course, we're studying philosophy, argument, but ultimately we want to realize the Leela of Krishna. So the Leela of Krishna is here. But philosophy gives us the correct understanding of the Leela. Otherwise, we will make speculative ideas like, Vishnu or the universal form is greater than Arjuna's attachment to Shamsundar. If you study the philosophy, the commentary of the Acharyas, then you see into the Leela properly. But do that